Good evening, racing fans. Welcome back to the channel, proudly sponsored by Oddschecker. So we are back again. This is just going to be quite a short and sweet preview, to be honest, of the weekend racing at Sandown. We've got four races to cover, and as usual, we'll get the best bets from Jamie from anywhere else and anything possibly Sean's got. I don't know if you have or haven't got anything, Sean, but mate, where have you been since Cheltenham and Aintree? I know it's not really your scene at this time of year, is it? But it's still a little bit of racing, Sean.
Yeah, Joe. I've been dipped out. I had a nice little break after Cheltenham now. I got a little bit of Aintree and I got back for a bit of Fairly House the weekend. So, this is coming to the end of my season, as you say. I nearly go out to grass. Probably another 10 days and I'll be out on grass now at the Punchestown. And yeah, look, we finish off at that last festival and it never really disappoints. I always think it sends us off on a good chill.
Are you and your lads at the finishing line doing a preview for Punchestown or?
Yeah, I think there's one plan at the moment. So no doubt we'll cover that all and probably the big races because it's 7 days of seven races and 49 to go through. So I'd say we dissecting the big races, but plenty of big clashes that look to be going to happen. And hopefully Nicky brings over his crew. He has a good few entered up, and you might get some big clashes that people maybe didn't expect at the start of the season.
He does, mate. He does. Now I know, Sean. You're obviously finishing college at the moment. You wanted to go to France, didn't you? But you've had something
Yeah,
come up in the way. What's going on?
yeah. Unfortunately, maybe last year of studies, and they take priority at them, unfortunately. But yeah, I was just saying, I think the French Gold Cup has been on my radar to get over. I know Tom off the finishing line has been over there a good few times. Highly recommend the trip. So if anyone's ever thinking about heading over, it's supposed to be a great experience. The tickets are cheap as hell, for racing over there. It's not expensive to go to racing, and if you're a wine drinker, it's paradise probably.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I must admit, I admire your dedication over the last couple of years since I've known you, because there's been loads of big meetings that you've wanted to go to. You've done the right thing, Sean. Education, but is that you nearly done now? Then is it?
Yeah. I wrap up now. This is my last year studying. I finish up in 5 weeks' time, and all hell breaks loose after that. It could be anywhere, Joe. You could catch me in Japan watching racing.
Yeah, make sure you come back next year to find out where Sean is. Then, Jamie, how you doing, mate? You got a few quite, you got some strong fancies for this weekend, don't you? At Sandown and other places too. Even on the flat, Jamie, which we're going to be covering throughout the year as well.
Yeah, plenty of horse in the flat for once. Yeah,
Yeah, all
kind
right.
of switching to flat mode now, Joe. Nearly getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm very much in that place. Of course, we've got Sandown and Punchestown, but you're starting to sort of see, the guineas approaching. A few sort of horses entered for some trials and stuff like that. But let's get the jump racing done first, and at the end we'll come over to Jamie as well for his selection on the flat. Also, before we do, thanks to everyone that's tuning in. Much appreciated. Really do appreciate the support. If you're able to like and subscribe to the channel, it's completely free to do so. It does help us out a great deal. Just shows a little bit of support to the channel. And final note, Liam is going to be back next week. He is in Bordeaux.
Bordeaux.
Yeah, so he's looking at a couple of wedding venues here and there. So we've given him the night off, and we've got a top draw replacement with Sean. Right, and lads.
Jesus, you know what? I'm just thinking, Joe. What happens if we get Liam to get married next May in Paris? We all go
Oh,
to Auteuil
oh, there we
and
go.
then head
There's
down and then
there's
head
an
down to Liam's
idea.
Yeah,
wedding.
yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
an
Tell him to get
idea.
married next May. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't know yet then, but we're going to be going to France next year for
Uh,
Lee's wedding. Like, I
yeah.
love it. Right then, fellas, we might as well crack straight on. We've got a whole host of Willie Mullins runners at Sandown tomorrow. He's not letting Dan Scout and get away with anything, is he? We start off with the Oaksy Chase, the Grade 2 over 2 miles, 6.5 furlongs at Sandown. Gaelic Warrior is your 11 to 8 favourite. Pick Dory at 5 to 2. Gentleman to Me, the top and winner at 13 to 2. Boomborn at 20s, Hitman at 20s, and any price you like for the remainder. Probably quite important to note, Sean, isn't it, that we've got good ground at Sandown this weekend. But Gaelic Warrior should be hard to beat, regardless if he turns up in his Aintree form, I suppose.
Yeah, look, I think it is going to be definitely on the rattling side for the jumps lads. And anyways, I'd say it'll be as quick as they. Well, I suppose Aintree was on the quick side, so it's probably coming on from there. But I'd probably sound a bit boring, but I'm going to start off with this is my by far my strongest bet of the weekend.
Hey, we just want winners, Sean. It doesn't matter. We want winners. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I just think by far this is my strongest bet of the weekend in this race, and it's Gaelic Warrior. I don't think you can look any further than him. Look, right-handed, his form, he's won 5 from 6 races, and the only time he was defeated was around Punchestown last year. Good ground, 2 miles. And I think you've seen throughout this season that 2 miles isn't his trip. Although he got away with it on heavy ground in the Narco last year, he just wasn't able to do it when you
Yeah,
got up into open grade ones. Also, you have to think into the fact you can say he was poor at the start of the season, but he hates Leopardstown and left-handed. And I just think that both of them combined over 2 miles just didn't seem the best effect. And I know they
yeah,
left him alone. He missed Cheltenham and he came back for Aintree. As a second string ride, probably pressure was off a little bit. He could find his confidence out the back, but guy, by God, did he relish it. I thought he went around that race and he stuck out like a sore thumb, in my opinion. He was
yeah.
jumping and you sort of lose him at the third last. The camera angle zooms in. I don't know what happened to the cameraman on the day,
Yeah,
but
it
then it
wasn't
opens
great.
back up and you see him swinging out on the outside and he comes by. But as I said, his form right-handed, he's fried from six. I think he's 170 rated. You just have to look at the opposition. He picked Ian here as 162 rated. He's an Ascot specialist, and the Grade One or Ascot was his Gold Cup. And I wouldn't be hanging my hat on the same picked turning up around here. He's only had one start at Sandown before, and he was beaten in the Silly Oils. He came toward. I just don't think a track with this hill, the way Sandown finishes, suits him. And he was beaten by, I know he's beaten by Lahan Presse that day, but he also had Mr. Coffee beat him that day, and that's just not a horse you want to be passing. You're going up Sandown, so I think that says to you maybe different horse, different caliber Ascot, but take him away from there. I'm not sure he's the same. And then you come down to Gentleman to me, who's toured in the betting. And look, I know he came back to himself over the national fences, but I don't think 2 miles six back over your conventional fences is going to see him rise the ranks. And he still has to find £10 to get to him. So you have Gaelic Warrior, who's £8 clear of Pictorian, £10 clear of Gentleman to me. I think he has to do an awful lot wrong to get beaten around here. And I think a right-handed track is what Gaelic Warrior wants. He can jump well. I think they'll make use of his jumping this time around. I don't think they'll have him held up. I'd say he'll be ridden a lot more positively and a stiff finish. I think that will combine all
Yeah.
together on good ground. I don't think he'll have an issue over that trip, and I suspect he's going to take plenty of beating around here.
Yeah, I agree. And to be fair, his jumping's got better this season as well, in the sense he doesn't veer out too far to the right and stuff. Obviously, the right-handed track would help him anyway. Um, James, good ground. Obviously, something we thought might have been a bit of an issue for him previously, but like me and Sean just said there, Aintree was no issue for him, was it?
No, I think good ground doesn't suit him over 2 miles now, Joe. I was standing right
Oh,
next to
okay.
William
Okay.
Mullins in Punchestown last Thursday of the Punchestown Festival last year, and Tom swooped by him on better ground, and Willie goes to me, "It's the ground," and he was standing right next to me, and I goes, "I agree with him." So I wouldn't take any notes. Look, you can crib the form with the entry bowl that he won, but look, Great Dawning should have nearly won a Betfair chase on bottomless ground. He bombed out then, obviously in the King George, won at Kelso, then came
Mhm.
back. High Senior behind the wheel backer. Those, what are they now? Listed chases, chase horses now, and handicappers now. The likes of those horses. I mean, like look back at Pictori. Like a lot of people will tip Pictori because of the ground. I'm like, look at the Ascot Chase win. Like, do you know what I mean? Like he beat the ill-fated Corpus Cross by 10 lengths. Blue Lord was absolutely muck. Pulled up, wasn't he, in the top of him? And
Yeah,
then the likes of Phlegmatic hasn't done anything like that, and Long Press has pulled up that day. It's Gaelic Warrior. I think the reason he'll go on good ground is because it's up in trip, and I think this is 2 mile six. They'll put him away, hopefully, and then campaign him for where he should have been all year last year or this season, sorry, in the King George. And
yeah.
I think they'd be foolish not to run him in the King George. I think he'll be campaigned as a King George horse next year, and maybe eventually down the line a Gold Cup horse. So if he can't win this, he's not a King George or a Gold Cup horse after that, but
Yeah, and I
it's
think
Gaelic
Shay, maybe
Warrior.
the other telltale sign I
Yeah,
think, in my opinion, is that they're not waiting for Punchestown. They're coming here with him, and Galloping the Champ doesn't always turn up at Punchestown, so perhaps there would have been a chance to turn over there, and instead they've come back to
yeah,
Sandown to take this out. It just tells you what Willie Mullins wants to do. Like everyone knows what's
exactly.
happening
And
at
he
the
wants to
moment.
win the trainer's title as well. You have to factor that in as well. I'll still take on Galloping the Champ by the way in the Punchestown Gold Cup. But anyway, no. If he wants to be serious contender, but it's Gaelic Warrior, Joe. It's which Gaelic Warrior jumps out of the bed,
Yeah.
and that's the problem with him.
Well,
And
this is
I
what.
look, I'm one of his biggest fans. I love the horse. He's went
Yeah.
me a couple of quid down the line. Obviously burnt me if we'll always go back to Fred Winter, but no, it's it what Gaelic Warrior turns up, but like this is he's kind of like if he can't win this, like seriously,
This is
might
what
as
I
well
was
give
going to
up.
say. Is this the thing why he's not even money or a shade of odds on then? Because
That's 100%, yeah, 100%. Because you don't know which he's unbelievable one day,
yeah,
and the next day you just don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah,
That's why I think that counts always with the left and right-handed thing.
Yeah.
Like as I said, like 5 from 6 he is going right-handed.
Hmm.
Left-handed, it's a completely different kettle of fish. He's hit
Hmm.
and miss. Where I think you actually genuinely do get a consistent Gaelic warrior going right-handed, and that's why I've hung my hat on him.
And I don't
yeah.
think you'll ever see him at Leopardstown ever again.
Yeah,
No, surely not.
he
Surely
shouldn't
as
be.
well.
Yeah.
That again will probably
Shouldn't.
help.
Mm.
They might even be able to just keep him fresh for
Yeah.
Cheltenham as well, like and
Mhm.
we might get to see a proper campaign out of him next year over the sort of the middle distances, and then like
You might not see him actually till left-handed till the Gold Cup next year, and that's just only me going further and thinking outside the box.
yeah,
That you might not see him left-handed at the Gold Cup next year.
could he be a horse for the John Durkan, or is it a little bit too
Oh
short?
yeah, a little trot around the Dirk and then onto
Yeah,
the King George. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there we go. We could just see a completely different animal out of him next year. He's only seven still as well, so he'll be seven going on eight during next season. So all right, okay. Well, full house then for Gaelic Warriors on the same. A little bit dubious just on the basis that he's a bit of a nutter, but I think it's going to be a 1-2 here for Mullins. I think Gentleman to me is going to run a pretty decent race again, but I don't think he's going to be good enough to beat Gaelic Warrior. That's how I see it basically. For some reason, I'm not a fan of Pick the Reader's Time. Might be what you said as well, there, fellas. Like he prefers like a real flat track, the stiffer sort of finish.
Yeah, and I think he always has that grade one in mind. That's his Gold Cup, and whatever
Yeah,
happens outside of that doesn't really matter.
yeah. I mean, look, he's had 70 days off coming into this race, but he's still £8 short of being where Gaelic Warrior is as well. And like we said, this sort of trip might even bring up more improvement in Gaelic Warrior yet, which is going to be even harder. So, if we take the race at the face of it on paper, it's Gaelic Warriors to lose, really, isn't it? Basically,
Yep.
Okay, right. The 3 o'clock, the 2 mile, 5.5 furlong Bet365 Select Hurdle, which is a grade two. Kits Buhel at 15 to 8, the lovely 5-year-old. We've got Lucky Place then at 5 to 2. Take No Chances, the mare for Scouting at 7 to 1. Salva, the motivator Galdin at 15 to 2. Blue King Drew at 9s, and Greeny Mayboy at 33 to 1. Jane, we'll come to you this time. Is this just going to be another winner for Mullins? He was a shade disappointing for me, to be honest with you, the last day because he came off the bridle quite soon, never looked comfortable. But when he beat Colonel Mustard and then Break My Soul at Gorham Park, he just looked like a horse that was just going to carry on improving. Not sure what went wrong for him the last day.
He hold
Was
on.
it
He
ground?
beat
Was it
Brakeman
fast
Soul and
ground?
Sir Gerhard in the Red Mills at Goran.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then he beat Carl Muster, wasn't it? Was it Punchestown on
Yeah.
debut? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Um, Sir Gerhard, look at Sir Gerhard. He travelled well in that race that absolutely hosed up in the Sussex Champion Hurdle there
Yeah.
to show that what a good horse Absurd really is.
Brilliant.
Onto the flat with him. But
What a dream of a horse, even,
his form with in the Red Mills is not great, really, if you think about it. And he was off the bridle exactly, and he clouted hurdles. Did finish, but you know what? He finished 15 lengths behind the winner. Who won that
Hidden
the
Valley
industry hurdle?
Lake.
Hidden Valley Lake, yeah, which shocked me that horseman because I always thought that horse wanted the bog and beat strong leader
Yeah,
that day.
for sure.
And reversed the form of the previous year. I understand that part. Yeah, he was off the bright. I think he got a shock to the system, Joe. And I always said it all year this podcast that he's next year's horse, and even beyond like an Amsterdam and all them, they're all
Yeah,
next year's horses,
yeah.
and they're getting it. Um, the horse that I'm very disappointed with this year that I thought, and I tipped him actually in the Ascot hurdle in Ascot, and I was the champion hurdler. Was behind
Mhm.
all of them was Blue King Drew, but I think Lucky Place for Henderson will win this race because I think this is his level. He was poor enough, obviously, in the stairs hurdles, finished about sixth, seventh, or eighth, whatever in that. But I think that was a shock to the system to him to being in an actually proper grade one. He's coming up from the handicaps, but
Hmm.
this is his level. He'd beaten Blue King Drew by length. Golden Ace was third in the Ascot Carl Hurl, whatever, to start the season. Then beat Gall Road in the Royal Keel. I think 2-6 and a bit is his limit,
Yeah.
and I will take because of the experience he's gone around handicaps, progressed in handicaps. I think his experience will stand him to beat Kitzbühel. Now, I think future obviously, sorry, Kitzbühel is obviously a better horse, but
I was going
maybe
to ask you that. I was going to ask you.
today
Yeah.
is the day for Lucky Place. But the future, if they ran again, I might have egg in my face. Kitzbühel now might rock up, but I think at the time of the present time at the moment, but the future looking at Kitzbühel at the present time is going to be Lucky Place. I think 5 to 2 is best price, and I'll take Kitzbühel on with Lucky Place. Yeah.
Nice ride to pick up there for James Bowen as well, that's for sure. Take No Chances run well, didn't she, in the mare, Sean? Any love for her here, or is it sort of a similar angle to Jamie with Lucky Place against Kitzbühel? And what do you think of Kitzbühel as well?
Yeah, look, a Kitzbühel was a horse I absolutely loved, and he just disappointed me at Aintree. Could be the trip. He could be a middle distance horse because he travelled way too well throughout the race. He jumped like a buck. He's definitely going to jump a fence next season. I can tell you
Yeah.
that. There'll be absolutely no problem with that. I think the skeleton horse, look, she's finished close enough to break my soul the last day. I know she ran well in the Mayor's Hurdle. I thought they'd done unbelievable with the place in the horde this season. He's picked up some very nice black type of horde this season, and she'd be worth a hell of a lot to our owners down the breeding sheds. But I don't think she's at the level that these two geldings,
Mm, mm.
to be quite honest with you. And what splits me is the prices. I really like Kitzbühel, but at 6 to 4, 13 to 8, do I want to take them? Not really when I can get 5 to 2, 11 to 4 on Lucky Place. Don't think much splits on the ratings, tell you that. And they're off the same ratings. Now, Lucky Place does have to give him £2 for the wins earlier in the season, a graded company. But I don't think that might stop him. I think it'll be a close race, to be honest with you. Lucky Place ran in the stairs. Obviously, his first two wins of the season, he won at Ascot, and then he went on to the real kill. He beat Golden Ace the first day in Blue King de Rouge, Jay said, and then he went on to beat Gale Road, where he stayed well over 2.5 miles up the Cheltenham Hill. And I just think that extra distance in the stairs, he travelled way too well. He was up in the van, as he'd say, right behind the leaders throughout the
Mm.
stairs, and he just was on the bit throughout the whole way. And then he came to that fall trail where it opens up down the straight over 3 miles on the old track, on the new track, sorry, and he just didn't find an awful lot. And Nico gave him an easy time home. He skipped Aintree, he comes out fresh, and I just think back down to this middle distance trip, he'll have the Willie Mullins horse to aim at. I'd say he'd be right beside him throughout, and I think he might just have a little bit left extra in the tank coming up the hill at Sandown.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, all full house then for Lucky Place because on the same. I think it just sets up really well from like you said, Sean, especially tactically. Look, it'd be no surprise to see Kitzbühel come out and just blow them away, would you? You'd be like, okay, well, fair enough. We knew there's an engine in there and it's
Yeah,
Mullins, but it doesn't feel like that's this time, does it?
no, and I just think it
Afterthought.
was really poor, wasn't it? Like, as in,
Hmm.
as you said, he came off the. Now, it could be that he just didn't simply stay, but he came off it and he just. The answer was sort of answered
Yeah,
immediately. Paul, when
yeah.
you see Paul does take his hands up and take it, sit down, you know yourself, it's game over from there. He's not going to empty the tank, but it just emptied very quickly for to be rushing in and backing on this time around.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay. Right then, gents, we move on to the celebration chase next. The grade one sponsored by Bet365 over just shy of 2 miles. This could be an interesting race. We've got John Bon in at 4 to 7. Obviously, this is a bit of his sort of backyard, his playground where he runs so well. We've got the returning Ilite Tomp after 359 days off a racetrack. Great to see him back at 13 to 2. Energamy for Paul Townend at 7 to 1. Then we've got Edward Stone, Master Chewy. And then Dan Skelton has raided the race of Unexpected Party and Harper's Brook at 25 to 1 and 100 to 1. Right, we'll go to you this time then, Sean. John Bond's obviously the horse with the form, isn't he? Is he just going to win again? Is it just a simple case?
Yeah, look,
Mark Walsh on board, though. Mark Walsh on board as well. He's been beat when he's had James Bowen on board, Aidan Coleman, Mark Walsh in the
it's
saddle now.
Yeah, you've just stolen me thunder there.
Okay.
Look, I think he is like right-handed. If a champion chase was running around Sandown, he'd probably have won too. But it's not, and it's running around Cheltenham, and he's just somehow has a hoodoo about him going around that place.
Yeah.
But look, he came back at Aintree, and to me, I know he won well, but it was empty in the tank, in my opinion. I
Mhm.
thought it looked really hard stuff now, and he rocks up here only what 22-day turnaround back to Sandown. And he's a quirky horse. And what you touched on with the jockey changes, he hasn't always been sweet to jockeys changing. And Nico sort of got an extra spark out of him that Aiden didn't get out of him. And then he's going to put down on Nico at Cheltenham. And
Yeah.
anyways, but I just think he's a funny horse. He can get on edge, and a new pilot just mix connections. And I just don't want to be steaming in at 8 to 15, to be honest with you. Now I can't stand here and sing about any horse in the race because in Orgamean, I don't know if Paul got a rush of blood to start a champion chase and what happened there, but that was a really strange ride in the champion chase, in my opinion. And then he just completely blew out on good, quick ground. Like, this is exactly what he doesn't want, and you're gonna get really quick ground here again. do you take a chance on Ante-Post? Like, I know Mullins is sending him over. I don't know. Maybe he could be a horse that maybe could be going to France or something, because it seems like it's very late to be bringing him back and not
Yeah.
going to. Obviously, you can't turn around and go to Punchestown 3 or 4 days later. So I don't know if they're using this as a prep or he's probably in a while and he's ready to go. But even still, I don't know if you want to be taking the 6-1 or about him. So it leaves me in a. I've stumbled across them all. I haven't given you a strong opinion. I couldn't back John Bond at the prices for the race for reasons I've given you, but I couldn't be strong on anything else. So it'll be a sit back and watch for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Ante-Post, effectively, he's still just coming out of novice company as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
Really, to
yeah.
come into it, it's a big old difference. It's hard to gauge how well he's going to be ready first time out, isn't it, James? And John, Inogami's got 6.5 lengths to find with John Bond from when they were at Ascot, obviously a right-handed track on good ground as well, James. Is it again point and shoot for John Bond here?
Yeah. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly what Sean said. But the only thing is, I'm very shocked that Ile Tantam is actually coming here because I actually prefer him in the champion chase against Marie Nationale, Solness, and Factify. I prefer him there, especially the way we got Gaelic Warrior last year, Punchestown last year. So I'm very shocked at that. I think that's a strange move, obviously, but it's the mop up. Obviously, whatever happens, if an Ergamine or if he finishes second, is to beat Dan Skelton, obviously. Yeah, like he might finish second in the late Tomp, and that's it because I think an Ergamine doesn't like this ground. And look, I understand with the pilot thing with John Bond, you just don't know what you're going to get. And I think that's why they've thrown it a Tomp in here with an Ergmean, because you don't know what John Bond will turn up with another pilot. He's never like, John Bond's like another Gaelic warrior. You just
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what's going to happen. But I think I'll probably won't get my wish that John Bond should be stepped up for 3 miles next year in the King George, because I think they'll bring over Factifile instead because they know. But Galopan's getting older. They might keep Factifile at home. But we'll get on to that with punches
Back
now.
to Foyle's going a different route next year, Jay. He's not going to a King George.
Well, even when he
Yeah,
gets
so
even when he gets spanked by Marine next week over 2 miles.
yeah, well, the two of them. I tell you one thing: the two of them are going to get spanked by another horse. I tell you that now for a fact. I'll take the two of them on
Who
at
with? Who with
Punchestown.
on a side note?
Solness will beat the whole out of them.
What at Punchestown?
Hmm.
Oh, come on, Jamie.
Watch back the start at the Queen Mother. We'll see what happens then
We,
after that.
Do you know?
If it's a
Do you know?
small field, it's going to be a 500 field on that 2 mile thing. Solness is an absolute good thing. I'll tell you one thing: Joseph O'Brien will mop up all the great ones and the decent races in Punchestown. Absolute certainties. But Banbridge is going to win the Punchestown Gold Cup.
Do
Come
you know
on.
what Solness will do, Jay? He'll
Yeah.
give Factor Foyle a nice little lead to the bend. And then
Factify reminds me of Allaho, my friend.
Mark
Another
Walsh will do
Allaho.
this
And
thing
they
where he
tried it
looks
with
under his
Allaho, it goes
shoulder
in
and
more.
says, "Where
It
the
goes in
fuck is
more.
Marine National? Where's the
Yeah.
rest of them?"
Well,
No,
we
but
all know Marine
oh, there
National
he,
has
oh,
no
there he
chance
is.
anyway.
Oh, there he is. He's sprinting past a lot of us, right?
But anyway, but no, in all seriousness, and all jokes aside, John Man should win. And I think, as I said to you earlier on, Joe and Donna, I backed to the 33s, 25s to 1 to win the King George next year against Gaelic Warrior. And I hope they go down that route. I think he's another Shishkin. I think they should step him up. I know exactly what Sean said. It looks like he was tying up with the entry, but I think he was just idling. I think if they go really quick in the King George, it's going to suit him down to the ground. Uh, it's not a 2 mile pace. It's a really quick King George pace, and
Yeah,
I think that'll suit him down to the ground in the
yeah.
future. So I took the chance. He's my only bet in the King George, and didn't back Gaelic Warrior yet. But yeah, but no, he should win. But look, he's another Gaelic. What John Mun's going to turn up is the problem.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, and just going back and sort of touch on Ilite Tong, obviously he won at Punchestown this time last year. So the fact Willie Mullins is bringing him over here, like sort of Sean suggested, could allude to the fact that he's probably going to need the run, and he's quite happy to bring him over for a bit of prize money if he can finish second or third. But
Yeah,
surely John Bond just wins this, doesn't he? Like,
yeah.
but and I know that's
Yeah,
a
I don't
conversation.
want to put the mockers on it, but the fence that had me hard in my mouth watching John Bond now will be that first one at the stands, that ditch that they jump on the left side
Yeah,
on
of
the
Yeah,
right
course,
side of
of
the
yeah, yeah,
course,
fence.
yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah.
He fly leapt that with Nico on the Tingle Creek, and by God, you wouldn't want them coming up out of your hands like that in a new
Yeah.
jockey, your heart
Yeah.
in your fucking mouth.
Mark Walsh, obviously one on I know the way you're thinking. He's a walk in the park. Hopefully, he just sort of has that in mind when he rides John Bond because he's sort of similar traits, isn't he? Like a walk in the park as well. So hopefully he can. It'd be nice for him to get a big win. Like
Yeah.
something. I saw some people
Oh
online.
yeah, it'd be great to see.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nothing against Mark Walsh's ability, if that's
No,
what
no,
anyone's
sure,
thinking.
sure.
Absolute dirtiest pilot, just a horse that's a little bit quirky and a new jockey up first time.
Well, we've agreed on the first three so far, gents. We've got one more to go now, and we might end up having to do some sort of acca. In the 410 at Sandown, we have the Bet365 Gold Cup Handicap Chasers, a Premier Handicap over 3 mile, 4.5 furlongs long. The winner gets £98,000 here, so pretty much 100 grand. And Willie Mullins has the first four in the betting. High Class Hero at 9-2, Dancing City at 6-1, Grange Clare West at 7-1, Manila Kakuna at 15-2. The nearest Dan Scout on horse in here we've got is Holy Joe Smoke at 14-1 off a mark of 142. God, it's going to be a bit of a big ask, and you can even go down further and find the likes of Lombron, Omar Park, Clark Kent, Spanish Harlan, Chosen Witness, Olympic Man. So there's a ton of Willie Mullins horses in here. James, High Class Hero's the favourite here, but he actually has a little bit to find with Dancing City. I know it was over a slightly shorter trip, but if we go back to prior to the Cheltenham Festival, yourself and I were saying if the National Hunt Chase was the National Hunt Chase of old, then Dancing City would have been a certainty. He get
Hmm.
he gets that trip here. Is he your selection, or are you looking elsewhere?
100% is my selection. Yeah.
Hmm.
He's another. What did we say to start the season? And look, Ante-Post show and fair, and it's not cribbing anybody. Sean Dunne. But no, but all jokes aside, in the old rules of National and Chase, it'd been Patrick Mullins right. He'd been either Galliard and Meal. It'd been a 6-7 runner race. He'd have trotted around and he'd beat him all for speed at the end.
Hmm.
And it's 100% that's the way it would have gone, and he'd have won. We'd have all been on it, and that's
Yeah.
all jokes aside. I would have been. I'd have had down as one of the bankers of the meeting if he was the old National and
Hmm.
Chase rules. Um, yeah. Oh, I can't believe Paul Towner hasn't picked him. I'm
Yeah. I'm a
like
little
the
bit
high class
surprised
hero
too.
was beaten by common practice 2-13 to Turles the last time.
Yeah.
Now he's the favourite for an old whitbread, but it's Willie Mullins, so you don't know what's going to happen, and he's better going. Well, no, technically he's better going right. But Dancing City beat him last year in the Grade One at Punchestown. So do you know what I mean? Dancing City, what? Who did he beat? Shannon Royale started the season at Punchestown. Then he went on. Look, bioluminescence. Unfortunately, disappointing since we
Yeah. Yeah.
fell in love with her. And then all of a sudden, then the six behind Lecky Watson in that bad Browns, and I always will crib that Browns for the rest of the next year. I will.
Sure, Lecky Watson wins
Lecky
the Gold Cup.
Watson comes up and rocks up at the Punchestown Grade 1, but I'll take on Lecky Watson at the Punchestown Grade 1 on the first day of the Punchestown Festival. But he was traveling like a very good horse in the Aintree Grade 1. And would he have beaten Caldwell Potter? That's a big question, but I think he would have. Now that's a blessing in disguise. Obviously, he has to give £3 to High Class Hero under hurdling form. But I think this is his trip. John Joe will creep around. And what's not to like? And I think this is his trip all year, 3.5 miles. Good. He can go on any ground. He was on good ground. He beat High Class here in the Grade One last year. And I think, was he 11-2, 6-1, something like that?
6-1.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think this is an absolute good thing, and I'll be all over it. And I think he'll win.
Yeah. Look, we've had Harry Cobden riding winners for Willie Mullins. We had John Joe O'Neill Jr. ride Connie
Tony
Ross
Ross.
to win the Triumph. Now he's getting the rider on Dancing City. There's some sort of recruitment process going there for Willie Mullins, Sean, or what?
There's absolutely not, because Paul Downing has about 12, 15 years left in his career to go. So the lad be waiting a long time. And you know what? I agree with everything with Jay, and I think this would have been the Cobden ride only for Nichols has a horse in it.
Got
Yeah.
300 through five, hasn't he? I did have a check. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think this would have been the Cobden ride. And if Cobden rode what's had to been happening the last few weeks, you could easily have seen him being favourite and high class hero now. Just on the favourite high class hero, as Jay said, you get beaten by common practice at Torless. You couldn't be hanging your hat on him whatsoever. I also don't think he's a natural over his fences. I think he can be bit hesitant, and you get down to Sandown where you need a lot of jumping down the back straight, and in a handicap, I know it's only 18 runners, but you're going to be in and around others. You wouldn't want to be guessing about your jumping down them railway fences. So I could see that possibly being the undoing of him. But I think the mega fact that I touched on just before the show with Jay was he's ran Grange Clear West, who's backing up only 21 days after the Grand National. And he's done this with intent, because there's at least half of the field running out of handicap. and
Hmm.
he's just weighted these all over, and they're gonna have to carry more weight than they should do, essentially. And I think this has been a master plan by him. I think he's looked at the one big pot that could probably win him the Trainers' Championship, and this is it. And I'd say he'll probably get a couple of places. But Dancing City, as Jay's touched on, is my selection. I'm hoping to get some Cheltenham money back this weekend now, to be honest with you, because I thought he was absolutely flying at Aintree. I thought he was pinging everything. He was traveling, he was cruising, and I was absolutely good to see him. He just stepped there. I think he was going a bit too well, and Paul asked him up, and he just took off probably a stride too early and came down, unfortunately. But
He's
look,
generally reliable though, isn't he? Outside of that effort, like you know.
well, I would have said you if there was any horse that you wouldn't see falling as a novice, it's him that paints the
Yeah,
picture
yeah, exactly.
of absolutely perfect jumping. And the fact that they're backing up so quickly means that it didn't probably take much out of him at all. And I suspect jumping, look, I know it's how can you say that off the back of a fall, but jumping would have been one of his assets. And I think he'd pop around here, absolutely no problem. I'd say he'll sit in the middle of the pack, he'd be able to jump in the dark, no issue, in a big handicap. And I just think the extra 4 furlongs up a hill is gonna play to him all day. And I just can't believe if you tell me that Dancing City off a mark of 151 has nothing in hand, I'd probably laugh at you. He has to be better than a 151 horse, in my opinion. At least 5, 6, 7 pounds he could have in hand. So that's sort of what you're running with. He's a well-in horse. I think that possibly is a graded horse, just didn't get the chance to. Could have been a grade one winner if he had a stand up at Aintree. And as a consequence, he's running off 151 in here. And I just think he's dead on to be in the money. I couldn't see him being out of place. I think he could have found much worse each way bets than Dancing City.
Well, what? Why is Paul Townend got off him? I know we've sort of touched on this, but why is he got
Very
him?
strange. Very
If he,
strange.
Yeah,
if he if he's come back, like you said, if they're willing to run it here just 3 weeks later, he can't be none the
yeah.
worse for it. Paul
And,
Townend
But
must.
didn't Danny ride Manila Cacuna last year at the minute?
yeah.
So
We
you
could be the
sometimes you just don't know. Do you know what I mean?
and I just it's something about high class here as well. It's jumping and all. It's just there's enough there to pump me off.
Yeah.
That's not getting that seeing Paul
Yeah,
Townend on board isn't swaying me. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, sure. Yeah, because it's interesting you saying about the jumper for high class hero because I'm a big fan of this horse, but he could probably do with like a stayers hurdle campaign, and he wouldn't be far
Yeah.
off. Like get him in that Hatton's Grace, and then sort of step him up through the season to get him to Cheltenham. Yeah, interesting race, but again, we're all coming down on the same horse. That's literally 4 races in the row because I'm with Dancing City too. I don't think he's necessarily like a tactically versatile horse. I've always said this. I feel like he needs this longer trip. I just something about this Paul Townend jumping off him to ride high class here is a big worry for me. I know, like we're saying, we can crib the form of that Brown Advisory, and probably rightly so, because I've been banging on about how much of a good horse I was expecting better days ahead to be at Cheltenham, and Sean kept telling me all year that he's a dog, he's a dog, he's a dog, and he sort of proved the point again, didn't he, in the Irish National? Really, I thought even off a high mark, he should have been very competitive as like if he was going to be sort of like a up and coming smart novice, effectively. So he shouldn't have even ran in the race if you ask me. I don't like it when they rush these novices up to these sort of
He's the Triton winner.
Oh, I just don't. Do you know what, James? I just wish that after Cheltenham, they no, but honestly, I wish they just ran him at Punchestown or didn't run him at all and just save
Mm.
it for next year. Because
But
now they,
what he's if I tell you no, he'll definitely be campaigned in. They'll put a claimer on him in the Triton. He'll win the Triton.
yeah, well,
No,
look, that's fair
November.
enough. That's fair enough. It's just because like he'd won a Grade One over 2 mile 4. A few runs later,
Mm.
he's running in the Irish National over like a real long extended
Mm.
sort of trip. It's just I don't like horses campaign like that. I like him to have like a polished campaign, going through, and that was partly why I expected him to really run well at Cheltenham like he did last year when he got there. And but anyway, it didn't happen. So
If
right,
anything, Joe, if I've taught you anything this year, hanging horses, just give them the get them
yeah, I know.
get them offside.
It was just the fact, like last year he was improved
Yeah.
the hurdle. He
Mm.
did so much as a bump horse, but then when he got to Cheltenham, he loved that hill. Some horses just love Cheltenham, and I was like, this is that horse, and
Mm,
he's not that horse, is he? So, but hey, look, we win some, we lose some, and I lost some on that
exactly.
occasion. So,
Exactly.
anyway, right, the 4 races that we've looked at then at Sandown. I mean, I mean, we've all come up with the same horses: Gaelic Warrior, Lucky Place, John Bon, and Dancing City. So I'm going to have a little bit of an acca, even though accas aren't really.
I'm gonna actually just check as you're talking. I'm gonna check what price that 4 leg egg is.
Yeah. Have a look, Sean. Have a look, Sean, for us. We've all got to have a couple of quid on just to we've literally all come up with the same horses, so we've got to get on there. Um, Jamie, we'll come to you though because you've got a fancy tomorrow at Sandown, I believe, over the mile trip. What have you got for us?
I two fancies outside Joe. Sean has one afterwards, yeah, and I'll go to one the first race, obviously in Sandown afterwards. But
Okay.
I really, 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 really fancy this horse tomorrow in the Bet365 mile at the 3 o'clock in Sandown. It's a horse called Dancing Gemini. I was unbelievable. I'm going with my eye more than anything. I
Hey,
was
that's
seriously
one of the best
Doncaster.
tools to use is your eye. Like,
Unbelievable. The turn of foot was insane. I thought it was unbelievable. Probably beat nothing. It was a listed race, but it was good to soft. Um, I'm only going back. I'll give you kind of. I know the second favourite beat it last year at Goodwood. Beat it by about 4 lengths, 8 lengths or something like Goodwood in the thoroughbred
hmm,
Group 3 over a mile in lead artist. But that's his first run of the season, lead artist, and I think lead artist is a horse to follow this year in the flat. But Dancing Gemini, obviously, what was 8 lengths behind City of Trident the Derby. Obviously, was Stone last in the Eclipse, but then was fourth behind Sharon in the QE2. Was beaten eight
mhm.
lengths by Sharon, and Sharon was the champion miler, beating Factor Cheval last
Yeah,
year
good horse,
in the
good horse.
QE2 at Ascot. But the way it won at Doncaster blew me away. And look, this is actually a decent race for a Group Two
It
at this
is
start of the season. You know what I mean? It really
mm,
is. Like you've had Tim in there was decent. Tam Fana was in that race with
brilliant. She is top class.
lead artist that year, and it was what I think it was third in the QE2, I think as well. Al Cantor's coming over Andre Fabra,
Yeah,
who's a bit of a
love that horse.
it is a good horse as well, like you know. But I think if they want to think this horse is a Group One champion miler, it want to be winning this and onto the Lockings then because we think back last year, who's your top champion? Is Charon still around? Is he retired?
No, he's still
I
racing,
don't
I
know.
believe.
Is he still racing? But the way Dancing Gemini might go all the way up from listed up to grade Group Two,
Hmm,
up to the Lockings. He want to be winning this
yeah,
if you want to consider him to be a Lockings horse. And look, 3 to 1 to find out. I think it's serious value. And because of his form last year, and he ran in all the right races,
yeah.
um, there were what would they do? Mucking around with his trip last year to see if he was a mile and a half or obviously last in the Eclipse, probably not a 10 furlong horse. But my God, he blew me away at Doncaster. And look, maybe he might need good to soft, but I'm going to take the chance on him. If it's good, goodish ground, I think he'll win. And 3 to 1 to find out. I'm all over Dancing Gemini tomorrow in the Bet365 mile.
Cool, perfect. Like you said there, Jay, you said you've used your eye. Sometimes, like we know, sometimes it's the best judge, isn't it? Like, you see
Yeah.
something and you just go, wow. I know I always find a way to bring it up, but that's what happened with me and Marie National when he won his bumper. I was just like, oh,
Mhm.
geez, I like
At
what I
Killarney.
at Kalani. Yeah, exactly. But just to back up your point then, you said about the turn of foot. He's got a top speed figure of 115 dance in Gemini. That's five clear of anything in the race, and then it drops way below. So it was true, it was true speed that he had at the end of the race as well. Sean, how much did that Acker pay?
That Aka was 60 to 1, Joe.
60 to 1. All right, okay.
Yeah, a 60 to 1 Aka. So I'd say you could do worst. I'd say you could do worse than that 60 to 1 Aka, I tell you that.
Look, just because of the sake that we've all come up with the same horses, I am gonna back it as well. We'll see what we get for it. Jamie might get a little bonus out of me as well if it lands, like we'll see. Right, we've
Come
got one.
on, don't you have to have something else by the top four? Come on.
Uh, look ahead to next week. Can I
Yeah,
give you the
yeah,
one on Punchestown?
anything. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
for it, go for
You
it.
want more then after that? Yeah, yeah.
It sounds probably you're probably gonna laugh at me because the race that's in and the horses that are in it. But I know he's short. But lads, I think Factor Foil is a certainty.
Can't believe
This
you've come on
horse.
here and you've said that against Marie.
Yeah, I know. I just tweaked it there now. But I've actually, if there's a horse I've been chipping away at since I found out that he's been entered in this race and he was taken out of the Gold Cup. I just think we have a special horse in our hands that just wasn't able to do it over 3 miles against Gallop and Deschamps and maybe looked at and was probably crabbed a little bit for coming second and then falling away.
Mm.
But for me, they can't go quick enough for this lad. because his cruising speed to me is off the scales. I don't think anything could like, give this lad a lead. Like as long as he want, they could take up any race, in my opinion. I think as Jay's touched on, you're gonna get a small field. You'll have Solness to aim at, and I think he'll be able to just cruise and jump. You watch him in a Ryanair when Mark Walsh was able to just drop his hands and let him run and jump. He was phenomenal. He pinged everything, and he pulled up the LA France 80 on a half canter around the bend. I just thought it was special, special. We heard whispers that the champion chase was possible. My two ears pricked up straight away, and that had me. Then all of a sudden, I see him pulled out the entries for the Gold Cup at Punchestown. He's only in the 2 mile race. I genuinely think if he gets there next week and runs in that race, he will be champion chase material for next year. I think they will go down that route to race that JP hasn't won. And I just think going at a pace, look, he was able to win bumpers over 2 miles and he was able to go with a Dream to Share. Dream to Share is a flatbred horse and he was only touched off in a champion bumper by him. Speed, turn of foot, he has everything in my opinion. He can travel, he can jump. I think any pace that Solna sets out in front is only going to be a benefit to him. And I think he'd be able to just track and go. But he's one of the ones in a week. I don't really get stuck into much at Punchestown because it's the end of a season, but I'm going to be GSO'd into this lad because I think he is just different level. And I think coming back down to this trip, he could be just exceptional. I haven't seen a horse. I've been out in Leopardstown. I'm only a young chap, but I've been out there for a long, long time. Every
Yeah.
single time he was kicked on down that back straight at Leopardstown, he put in absolutely phenomenal performances that I haven't seen. And he's had horses absolutely walking over finishing lines. So I just hope they sit up in the van, let him use that pace, jump. And I genuinely think he's a top star horse that we'll be seeing over 2 miles next year.
Yeah, okay, we've answered my question. I was going to say, where do you see him next year? Then is he going to be up at the staying trips, or do you
Yeah,
think
if he wins
Scotty?
this race, I think you've no choice. You've JP who wants to win a champion chase, hasn't done it yet, and you have a
And
horse
switch
that's
it's switch John into the Ryanair.
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
Yeah,
that's
you,
it.
yeah,
and you've Willie Mullins that has no star 2 mile chaser. So I think a lot of things falling into place,
Mhm.
and him being a champion chase horse. I know the way of thinking, winning a Gold Cup next year, going back next year. You
Yeah.
have Majbra, John Bond possibly for a Ryanair, and then you have this lad slotting in the 2 mile division. I think it just makes sense.
And then we're saying like if Gaelic Warrior wins the Oaksy over 2 mile 6, he'll be the John Durkin horse, and he could be the one that
yeah.
either goes
Yeah,
to.
but I think, do you know what, Joe? I could even probably he could probably rock up in a John Duncan first time out because the timing of the race, or he could be a hilly way. It depends. I just think I wouldn't rule him out over two. Like he's obviously can go
Yeah,
2.5 miles. We see him already done in a Ryanair. It's just that extended 3 miles. I just think just he's too good to get the trip. As in, he travels too well. He just
yeah,
wants to
sure.
do too much, and he just doesn't get the pace to aim at over 3 miles. And I just think I could see a special performance next week.
I just think we could see a switch in campaigns then from last year with Gaelic and sort of Factor Far
Yeah.
perhaps
Yeah.
anyway. So
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, well look, 60-1 for the Acker. Factor Far the better next week for Sean.
Yeah, and Gaelic Warrior will be definitely be my better Saturday.
I was
I
going to
just
ask
think,
actually. So he's the one of
yeah,
the four you'd be. Well, you're already on.
yeah,
You've
he's
actually backed him already, haven't you, Gaelic? Yeah.
yeah. I've run over. As I said, I haven't been busy on the betting terms, but I made a trip back over to the shop there today, and yeah, Gaelic Warrior back right-handed. As I said, he's £8 clear. I picked eye, £10 clear, gentleman to me. Right-handed jumps off the back of Aintree, step up and trip up to 2 mile 6 here. I think will be the difference. If he doesn't get you, people think he doesn't act on good ground. I think he needs a trip if he's on good ground, and I just think he could go off odds on the day. I wouldn't be surprised if he went off 8 to 13 or something like that.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, and Jamie, you got one more for us as well. You've obviously got Dancing Gemini and Sandown tomorrow. Is
Yeah,
it?
he'd be my nap the whole weekend, Dancing Gemini.
That's the banker then. And
That's
your
the
other
man.
bet is it come on Saturday? The other one.
Yeah, the first race, the 120, actually back the winner of this last year, Fallon King, called Hellvine, and he really disappointed me this year as a
Oh,
chaser. He won a 25-1 last year in the race. I really, really fancy beat. Actually, did he beat Beware last year in this race?
I can't
I might be
remember.
wrong. But anyway, the Sacralore is the favourite 11-2 for Cobden and Nichols, and you've Kit Syme for the mayor for Nicky Henderson. You've Sears Chandler. I really, really fancy a horse that champion elect the jockey Sean Bowen and now and that'll be kicking the stones to Harry Cobden when all these races with Willie Mullins.
Oh
But 10
yeah,
to 1 best price. Actually back to say 8 to 1. And it's on by the Broughton crowd and the what was that name of the horse that won the champion chase for them? Can't remember. I can't remember.
Dodging
But
bullets.
Dodging Bullets, Nardaran, right? This was a horse on the flat for the Aga Khan, and all of a sudden it was bought. Ran
Oh,
around in a spoon race at Kempton was fourth, was 6 then above in the Triumph race in Musselburgh the weekend of the Dublin Race Festival. Was traveling like a good horse, then absolutely clouded the second last, and the race was won by St. Pancras. St. Pancras is in here at the same price, but now Nardrain gets a stone off St. Pancras, right? And then all of a sudden, an absolute rocked up the last week at Taunton, won by 11 lengths, and one going away. And all of a sudden, then I said to myself, yeah, like Helvine did that last year, didn't he? Yeah, same thing. I'm going down the same route as last year. So I backed it today 10 to 1 each way. And I think Bowen, champion elect, is the horse for this, the jockey for this horse.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think, yeah, it's because he's so unexposed. I can't believe Copland's gone on Sacrador because he's so exposed.
Yeah,
This is an
sure.
unexposed horse, and I think this horse is a great chance. He's rated 10 to 1. I couldn't put you off. Nardra.
Like, I haven't even looked at this race, but even there on rating, so he's £2 behind Sorcerer, only £2, but he gets
Yeah.
£6. So it's a big old difference, like, isn't it? Is this a Gowden as well? I don't know anything about this horse.
I haven't a clue, but it
Yeah,
was
he
just
is, yeah.
because it just caught my eye, and he won obviously on the 9th of April in Taunton. Just caught my eye and absolutely rocked up. All of a sudden, they said they have to rack up to get into this race. They know the time of day, these owners, and I think it'll have been Narderan, yeah.
Love that, Jane. Yeah, got me intrigued as well. Like, cool, awesome. No love for Big Ginger in that race, then, Jane. Go
No,
on,
no, he's a
Ginger.
dog. He couldn't win a banger the last
Let me
time.
tell you, he is a dog. Let me tell you that, that's for sure. Right, awesome. Nice one then, gents. What's going on this weekend, Sean? Are you watching racing, or are you saving yourself for Punchestown, or what?
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be a financial investment. So I'll definitely be watching Sandown on Saturday.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And then I'll be rolling around looking for entries, sorry, next week. I see a nice couple of pedigrees and bumpers and horses to get excited about. So that's my forte. El Kopek, the board's half brother, is running in the Goffs bumper. Interesting to see. I know Jay loves him, so he'll definitely be interested to
And he
hear.
won't, I'll
Oh
tell you
yeah,
one thing, he won't beat the Robco horse from Longdale yet in that.
Yeah,
is that
no, that's
lead the lead of the board? Is it Sean? Is it lead of the board?
Discourse, whatever, it's an X word anyway, I was told. This is going to win the Goff
Yeah,
Defenders
yeah.
bumper, yeah.
yeah, lead of the board's Kopek's half brother. By Gigginstown, they paid a right few quid of him for the Derby sale. So I love to see all these bumpers at the end of the season. I think you can get horses that win and sort of go under the radar because they haven't been in Group Ones or sorry, Grade Ones. I'm thinking of the flat. They haven't won the Grade One.
Even you like the flat. See, there you go.
Uh, Group
Yeah,
1.
they haven't won the Grade One bumpers and they just get looked to the wayside. So you've off look, we've seen Ballybourne thrown up in that one that's ran on the Thursday. So definitely worth watching.
The greatest bumper the Punchestown ever produced in the last couple of years. Ballyburn, Slade,
Slade,
Steel, and
Seals,
Dancing
Dancing
City.
City. Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, that correlated well, didn't it? All through the season, to be fair. Yeah, yeah. What are you doing then, Jamie? You watching the race on? Are you busy?
I'm playing golf in Clarendino on
All right.
Saturday, Joe,
Okay.
and then we'll watch Sandown afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Right, thanks very much then, gents, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Jamie, just remind me of your best bets. Dancing Gemini on the Friday, and then
And
no,
each way Nardaran in the first race at Sandown, the 125, I think, on Sandown. The first race Sandown on Saturday, yeah. Each
and,
way.
and Sean's is Gaelic Warrior, but your best one, you've given us one for Punchestown as well, being Factor Far to beat Marine at National. Can't believe you've gone and done
And
that.
Sanlas will beat the whole lot of them.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well, we'll see. We've agreed literally on every horse today, and then we got to Punchestown, and we've got three different ones in the same race. Right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Myself and Jamie. I think Liam will be back with us as well, making his debut for the season as well for a Punchestown preview. We're looking at Sunday, Jamie, or Monday?
Sunday, Monday,
Yeah,
boss. Let me know.
yeah, cool. So we'll be back then, bringing you our best bets of the week. Loads to talk through. Some really good racing. That'll pretty much be it wrapped up for the jump season. Sean, we might not see you again now until October, I guess, when the jumping starts.
Yeah, I'll be out on grass. I'll be watching me Frenchies for the recruits for next year. But other than that, I'll be under the radar. But if you need any jumps information coming out, France or point to points,
Yeah,
I'll be back in September time just to remind people who they should be watching out for.
I reckon we'll be able to get you on for a flat episode or two if we ask you nicely.
The Derby.
Yeah, you'd have to wait for the big
Yeah.
days now. I tune in for the big days. I'm
The
not a Raider fan.
Derby.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
The-
The
Nice one.
Derby.
Well, look, everyone I'm sure watching our episode will know Sean already. Of course, Jamie's my wingman as always. If you follow them both on Twitter, you'll get all of the content like you heard there. Sean loves his French recruits as point to pointers as well. He'll always be.
We get him on for the French derby.
We get Sean on for the French derby. Booked in. There we go. Noted. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Please don't forget this episode is sponsored by Oddschecker. Well worth checking out for all of your best prices. Can be some very big variations, provided you can get on with those bookies, of course. Yeah, we'll be back next time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate everyone. Thanks again, Sean, for coming on. Jamie, my
No
wingman,
problem.
as always, can't do it without you. Thanks to everyone that tuned in. Bye for now.